then I'm going to find out from any of you what your experience of trying to get into showcase events might be, if you have, or if you never even tried to get somewhere. So we'll start off on my far right with my friend Tari. Tari, introduce yourselves and say who it is you're representing.
Hello, my name is Tari. I'm basically a freelance journalist writing for various trade magazines, but besides that also working for Reeperbahn Festival in Hamburg, where I'm doing part of the conference program together with some other people, and I do this, and I usually travel to quite a lot of showcase or music industry events, ranging from ILMC, in the past Amsterdam Dance Event, MAMA, and so on and so forth, so that's my background.
My name is Matjaž Manček. I'm coming from Ljubljana, from Slovenia, where I'm managing the music program of a pretty new established cultural center, music venue and more, called Kino Šiška. And we started to do a festival, a small showcase and conference event called Ment Ljubljana 3 years ago, which I'm co-managing with my colleague András Kaiser. That's it.
My name is Ruud Berends and I represent Eurosonic Noorderslag in Groningen, Holland, and IFF in London.
Yeah, I'm Grímur Atlason. I come from Iceland, where I run and book the festival Iceland Airwaves.
Right, before we find out some more about each of these events, how many artists in the room?
Or artist representatives.
Yeah. Or, yes. Who would call themselves managers? Right. Have we got any agents in? Agents, promoters? Look, I'm only going to take this seriously if you are. Right. Okay. Right. Have any of you had any experience of attempting to get on to showcase type events? Have any of you ever applied? Okay, you. Which ones where have you applied? Where have you tried to get your act onto? All of them. And have you had any success? Not yet. All right, okay.
Do you mind I just hand her the microphone? I spoke to her before, and I found it very interesting what she kind of experience she has with booking her bands on festivals. It's really interesting.
Feel free, Tari.
Yeah, okay, Tari.
Yeah, I applied to all of them, but I keep trying. I was asking early on if there are any other ways we can try to book our artists to this kind of showcases, except from applying, because I know that there are thousands of bands applying, and it's really difficult to get yourself noticed like that.
Interesting question, and you realise the way that I picked you out of the whole of the crowd. So, Tari, do you think this lady's doing something wrong in making her up?
Seriously, I must admit, I felt guilty. Yeah, it's like I totally understand your situation. As you say, there is so many applications of bands, managements, or whatsoever for bands to play at these kind of events. And it is very, very tough to get the awareness of the bookers or whomever, yeah. And I don't know what you guys think about it, but all of us, we only have a limited number of positions to book, and so it's very, very tough. So yes, my feelings are with you.
It's a different sort. Each showcase festival is different. Eurosonic is booking, it's a real 100% showcase festival. The Eurosonic part is, and Noorderslag part is a little different. That's more only Dutch bands on various levels. Eurosonic only books new bands, a showcase festival. Reeperbahn is much more a commercial festival. Ment is more a commercial festival, and I think Iceland Airways is also more a commercial festival. So maybe that is some sort of an answer. We try to represent, we only book European acts, we're non-for-profit, and the only thing that counts for us is results for the performing artist. So we don't book headliners, we only book European acts from all European countries, and we try to have an equal spread. So that's why it's maybe easier for acts from every country to have a slot at Eurosonic, because that's our role.
I mean, how are the acts actually chosen? Because I know Robert's pretty strict on the acts he chooses. So, I mean,
well, you know, like what we're supposed to say is it's selected on quality and ready for the market offers which might come in after a successful performance at Eurosonic. So you have to be export ready and festival ready. If you're an act and you play at Eurosonic, you get 15 festival offers, and they all offer you 200 or 500 or 1,000 euros, and you don't have a team in place to co-finance, help to play all these festivals, then you maybe better wait until you have a team and a budget available before you play Eurosonic. Timing is very important, and most showcase festivals give you one time, not 2 times.
He's talking about the political part. Yeah, it's not so easy to talk about, but of course there is a network behind. Of course there is some, let's say, agents or friends of the booker who are a little bit closer to put band on than, let's say, the normal online application thing. And you need to be very extraordinary, outstanding good. And the booker of the event must really like it. I know Robert Meyering from Eurosonic, he's traveling quite a lot. He really takes a personal look on some of the bands, and he's very open, and I know he's also going to Eastern Europe.
And he's very active online, he checks everything. He probably, most of the times he knows more about the local market than the export office does. So, you know, he's really very, very good in what he does. And it's a very difficult game, because there's not many festivals have 100% free slots. You know, there's always obligations you have to partners, sponsors, other, you know, export offices, radio stations who expect something back for their investments.
And sometimes there are export offices who are putting enormous pressure on the booker of the events to put on more bands from, you know, Turkey, Hungary, Russia, Poland.
Yeah, true. But if I want to have, for example, yesterday I had a conversation, because I also represent the Dutch Music Export Office, and I had a conversation with the booker of the Reeperbahn. And he was, in my book, not booking enough Dutch artists. And then I have to tell him, like, listen, if you don't book enough Dutch artists, I might not be able to invest my money in your event.
It gets even more complicated. It was interesting you raised that point about export offices and whatever. I mean, how powerful are export offices? I mean, do you get a lot of approaches from export offices? And
we are kind of an export office as well, because there is no export office in Slovenia, so we are kind of functioning in both directions. So to answer also to your question on Ment's festival's behalf, we are focusing on this region, so primarily Slovenian, ex-Yugoslavian markets, bands coming from there. After that, all the Central Eastern European region. So we are actively looking and searching for interesting acts from these places, from these countries. We want to have them really, but not on every instance. So like if we have information application from I don't know, 3 bands from Latvia surfing here, and nobody of those will kind of, you know, it's convincing us. We will not take just for a country representational sake. You know, we are not Eurovision. You know, so so first of all, it has to, like, musically, quality-wise, fit our music profile, identity. It has to work with the other acts that we are putting on the shows, because we are combining the program in a way that, you know, every venue, each 3 acts, a certain venue at the festival should have kind of like correspondence, so they're not from different fields. So we're not selling slots. We're not showcasing, like having, I don't know, like Austrian, Hungarian showcase venue or whatever. We're taking advices from our colleagues from export offices and so on, and we are booking bands, not like having 3 Polish bands at the same time in the same venue, but to put them together with acts that are genre-wise compatible. And normally we try to have one Slovenian act also in each venue in order to get some more local audience and so on and so on. So it's pretty complex. We have 50 to 60 slots per festival, which is not much. Last year we received over 1,300 applications, from which we've chosen around 20-25 acts. All other acts are booked directly because we saw, like, it's Andraž and me, so it's 2 guys basically listening to the whole list of bands. And yes, like sometimes with just application, with the material which is available at the application, so it's video, it's SoundCloud, it's biography, you don't get the full picture of how the band really works. If possible, we have to see it live. It's really important, even if, like, for promotional material, for presentation of material, for us, the best thing and the most important thing is live concert videos, something that shows like how this functions on the stage. This is for us the most important thing. Besides having the info on showing that the act is, you know, meaning seriously with what they're doing, having some professional if not team plan around what they're doing.
So showcase bookers are now spending a lot more time going to more and more other showcases.
I don't know about the others, but we are definitely spending a lot of time listening, checking on bands, researching, especially in these markets which are not so much known, and also that therefore are so much more interesting for us. And yes, we want to have a Romanian act on the next festival, so please apply. You have time till 4th of August.
Right.
Yes.
Well, that's the same
Your
thing.
band? What's the name of your band? That's a bit disappointing. All right, okay. All right, Grimo, we're using this phrase, on whether we're calling things, well, whatever you're going to try and call a festival. It seems now that a lot of the events that we're talking about have become more than just showcase events. The phrase, it almost seems to be a bit old-fashioned. In a lot of cases, a lot of what were termed showcase events, Great Escape, for instance, being one of them, is now a city festival. Things have moved. I mean, your event is a festival, a full-blown festival, but you do reserve a few slots for acts that you want to see.
I mean, you can take out of the 200 acts that are playing airwaves, we have 170, 80 are newcomers. There are bands that are like, would be considered, a lot of them play Eurosonic, a lot of them play Reeperbahn, Ment, Great Escape, a lot of these festivals. But our formula, of course, we are lucky to be in Iceland, so people want to come to Iceland, but our formula has also been, we are in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, which means we get a lot of US press and US delegates, and we get a lot of European press and European delegates. And this has helped us enormously. So we have a lot of interest, people coming to Iceland, and so the platform being not a showcase becomes a good showcase. But as I said, we need a handful of kind of larger acts because we don't have any, we need to sell tickets. We don't sell tickets, we can't do nothing. But we are still paying most of the band's fee. I mean, we are paying almost every band fee. We have these, what you were mentioning, we have these 5 slots, which are kind of wild cards. Bands that we, and bands that we go through and listen to and travel. And we go in length of getting bands from Romania. We got 2 bands from Hong Kong now. We got a band from Russia playing, even singing in Russian. And it's just because we feel they fit. So it has to be like, for us, it's the same thing he was describing, Matthias, it's the programming. There is no, we don't sell any slots. We just even though that the export office of Romania would come with 100,000 euros, we would just turn them down. So it doesn't really matter. And sometimes these export offices, as Ruth was saying, some of them are really good, but sometimes these export offices might just pitching bands that have no errand. And that's the same with us. I knew people that were pitching bands to Eurosonic that had no errand doing Eurosonic whatsoever. But nobody was listening to me, they were listening to these people, and they played Eurosonic. They blew off their chance. They should have been there 2 years later. This is, as you were describing, sometimes it feels like this is the right moment, this is the right thing, but it's not. When somebody says, come and play my festival, think about it. Think about how is your development and all that. Sometimes it is the right moment and right time, but sometimes it isn't really, even though you're being paid.
It's really key.
You have to think about it. So it's an industry of complex things, and for our festival, we keep it like it is. We believe in our strategy, and when that fails, they will throw me out, and then somebody else would just take over the thing.
Would you call yourself a Discover Festival?
Yeah, in a way.
Sort of closer to the...
We are Discover Festival. We have if you go through the years, we had Keane played the festival really early, Florence and the Machine played the festival really early, we had Haim, we had Hosier, we have, all these bands, Flaming Lips even, all these bands have played really early on in their career. Of course, Sigurós of Monsters and Men and all these Icelandic acts as well. So we try to have something that is fresh and new and bring it to the public. And sometimes even Hot Chip, they talk about they broke at Iceland Airwaves. They played a massive gig there. Nobody had ever heard of them before, but it was a full house, and NME was there. They picked it up. They wrote an article about it. So this is what we try to do in a way, without we are booking bands, we feel them crispy and good. Who knows? They might be, you know, boring and, you know, in your eyes. But we believe in this strategy, and it has, at least until this day, worked out.
If somebody sitting in the audience at the moment wants to get to you, wants to get onto one of those 5 slots, what's the best way for them to go about it?
Those 5 slots we pick, these are picked from like listening to submissions. But a lot of the submissions we listen to when we go through and we get the band and we pay them and everything. But those 5 slots are do that. But as I said, I travel a lot, and you know, I was in small town in Canada in February. I saw like 2 bands that nobody has ever heard of, and they were playing airwaves. And I saw bands in Estonia nobody has ever heard of, and nobody was pushing. You know, it doesn't matter if somebody's pushing something if it doesn't fit me. I travel sometimes with Robert, and we have the same kind of. We are sober guys in a way, so we go to all the shows we can. So if there were like more like showcases here, I would be going and seeing those bands in like small locations, and I would talk to somebody, and we have channels everywhere. So it's about, so we want to discover. So if your band is good, we will invite your band. That is, or you know, it might be good, and we don't invite you because we don't have any. You know, we only have 50, 60 slots that we have available, and there are actually 1,000 good bands out there at each given time. So.
Ruud, how seriously does the business in terms of agencies, record companies, or whatever, how seriously do they take showcase events? I mean, I know there was a time when people didn't. I just remember there used to be, Steve Zapp was one of the first agents I became aware of that actually started taking showcase events, as they were still called, quite seriously, and go in there and doing things. Now it seems that it's the A&R source for a lot of people.
It's basically, you know, sometimes I think like showcase events, or, you know, like Discover festivals, or whatever you want to call them. Each of them, we all have our different criteria and a different pool, maybe regional, like others, maybe European, like us, international, like Reeperbahn, and internationally, like you. I see them as a teaspoon in the waterfall. I mean, all the bands are online in a digital world, and there's zillions of bands. And what we do is we filter them, we curate them, and we show them on stage, so we all can come there and check them out and see who we want to work with. In essence, that's what, in my book, Discover and Showcase festivals are. Because we need them. There's no other place where you can go see them live. And somebody else who you trust selects the artist for you. So everybody goes there, the buyers and the sellers go there to check out like who are we going to work with, and you know, which act is good enough to make money with this summer at the festivals, or publishing, or label, or management, or whatever.
Well, obviously the ETEP situation has been a huge growth, and that we'll come back to that in a minute. And Tari, in terms of the way, how seriously does the main business take Reeperbahn? How many agents are attending, whatever is it, you know, if people do get onto a Reeperbahn event, you know, are they going to be likely to be playing in front of 4 or 5 agents, or what are they?
Would not necessarily agree on this. I rather would say, yes, of course, there's a lot of international bands playing at Reeperbahn, but basically Reeperbahn somehow quickly replaced Popcom, which had been a music convention far way back in the 90s. So it also has a meaning for the national market, and Germany is the 3rd biggest music market in the world, 4th biggest in Europe, 4th biggest in the world, and so it's a big market. So that's what the artists are looking for, to enter a market, going there. And probably it's more important for artists, not so much playing in front of 4 to 5 agents, but perhaps 20 or 30 journalists to get media coverage out of it. So that's also an opportunity to use a showcase festival, because most of the bands that are playing at Reeperbahn or at Eurosonic let's be honest, you know, most of them already have an agent on board.
Yes, but that's something from the last years. I mean, agents started to sign baby bands because they don't want to be too late. It doesn't mean they're actively working for the artist.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's been a real change over the years. That actually acts are already signed or are going out doing. We keep using this term showcase, and I can't think of a better thing to express it with. But it has changed incredibly. I mean, in your case, are you putting on a lot of unsigned bands, or are there signed bands on the showcases a lot of the time?
Signed, unsigned, it's not really a matter for us. It's especially like in Slovenia, it's like the records, labels, it barely exist. You can talk of one decent label which has most of decent bands, not just from Slovenia, but also wider from Balkans. So it's not the criteria, no. As I said, the main criteria is, besides the geographical focus which we have, which we call from Balkan to Baltics, or this region, is the quality of live performance, how convincing is us and how it corresponds to our music profile, which is more on the edgy side of rock, electronica, and not so. And it's like some acts that are obviously being pushed through export offices, I don't know, Scandinavians, and having considerable success in some other, not just showcase festivals, but events at all. They wouldn't have audience in our case, you know, because they are just not pop enough for commercial, for mainstream audience, and not alternative or not underground enough to satisfy the more demanding, maybe concert-going audience, which is the audience that we are targeting. So, yeah. I think this is what I wanted to say.
Going back to that audience for a bit, the ones that said that you tried to get onto events, whatever, what were you expecting to, can you put your hands up again, those that had actually tried to get on a showcase event? Right, the guy in the back, what did you expect? What will you try, if you get onto a showcase event, what do you think you're going to get out of it? What's your ambition in doing that? Sorry, do we have a microphone? Do we have a spare mic? Tari's getting his exercise.
Thank you. Hi. My name is Cosmin. I'm from Overground Music, an agency in Bucharest. Mainly one of the big problems that we face is that our artists in Romania have little to no international exposure, and we feel that we need to kind of go over the fence and start promoting, because you run in a circle here. You only get to play inside Romania, and you know all the tours, you play most of the festivals, but you get stuck as an artist, and it's very frustrating. You need to try and go out and expand your horizons, obviously. So what we are looking for is kind of start like a snowball effect. If we get to play to a showcase and maybe be successful, maybe that will bring further exposure. We want to, mainly the first goal is to get the ball rolling so that we can start building an international career for our artists.
Yeah. Maybe I can comment on this. So, like we in Slovenia, we had or still have this same kind of situation. We are even smaller country, so you basically do 20 concerts in small clubs for sandwich and beer, and maybe the next round for 200 euros, and that's it. And then you are in the circle. And then the bands, some of them who have like professional aspirations, they go like more mainstream, so they start to play the students' parties, which have some money, and they basically become bigger and bigger for domestic markets, and more and more getting away from the possibility to have any considerable career internationally. Because as your colleague Siggy from Iceland Music Exports put it really good ways, like the local hero syndrome. So normally when the bands who have like big audience in the domestic scene, they are not really interested into for international markets, and otherwise like some bands who have, you know, like doesn't, apart from small audience in their own scene, they can, with persistence, they can find globally the audience, and more is the case, and the possibility with the new technology and media options. So I think it's really up to the artists themselves to decide from the beginning what they want to do and act accordingly and make a plan for it. And you have to work. It's like in Slovenia, the case is that the bands, the acts which quality have some, you know, like identity and potential for international, to do something internationally interesting. They are coming from underground, from alternative scene, from garages and so on, and they have this DIY principles, ethos, and which is in majority of cases and the whole scene is kind of like it's a reservation towards the professional sector. So having a manager, this is like, yeah, you know, it's wrong. We are not here for the money, you know. We are for the scene and so on and so on. So and it turned up. I'm coming from underground scene. I used to play in noise rock bands and so on, and we were all the same, you know. I was music editor at the independent radio, and it's like as soon as Nirvana got a hit, you know, we were not touching anymore, you know. So I think it's really kind of underground snobism in a way, you know, and which is blocking bands from seeing that there's a difference between commercialization and professionalization. So it's like you don't need to compromise artistic-wise in order to, but you have to work professionally around the content that you're making. It's just playing well, it's not going to get you far. You have to work on it and have a plan and have people around you. We had a case with an exceptional Slovenian hip-hop electronica artist. He's a producer and hip-hop artist. He can freestyle in English better than a lot of English native speakers, and we brought him, helped to make it happen. He was booked to Eurosonic, 2 gigs. The first one was really, was not well attended, and the next day, instead of, you know, that we would be going around the conference and hearing the conferences, the panels and networking and so on, we were dealing with him and his dilemmas. He's very outspoken politically. He's like a columnist of the Political Weekly magazine and so on, and he has this, you know, a principle problem, you know, like who I'm playing to, you know, like a bunch of industry people, profit makers, and so on and so on. In the evening he had a gig, you know, and people from Exit Festival brought Malcolm from Glastonbury, and in the middle of a gig he had a really freestyle hate speech, or kind of like, you know, like really emotionally torn apart speech about him performing in front of
Bobos.
like, yeah, and not the real audience, you know. And Malcolm basically jumped on the stage right after the end of the performance, and he got booked to Glastonbury. He performed at Glastonbury, but never really changed nothing. He also got a record deal for German label. But still, like, we kind of like, okay, you know, he's reluctant to professionalize his career. He's just...
So, does he know what he wants?
Sorry?
Does he really knows what he wants?
We're saving the world, basically.
Ah.
Yeah.
Who in the audience is reluctant to professionalize their career?
There's one
who
general
wants to professionalize their career?
It's exactly what you said. The problem, I think, we are artist representatives, we are the professionals, but the problem, it probably lies with the artists themselves who have this kind of superiority complex, especially if they come from the underground. They feel that they are too good to do these things, and that probably it should all come to them.
Many artists play sometimes for, let's say, 100 professionals. And 100 professionals, you know, they're professionals. They see shows, I don't know how many times a week. And they're not reacting as normal audience. So they might be a little bit more reserved. Some acts can't take that or can't handle that and start insulting the 100 professionals in front of them, which might not be the best idea if you want to have a career. But one general advice I would like to give you is, like, if you consider to submit your act to any of the events out there, I think it's really important that you go there first yourself, without an artist, and check it out. Learn to know the event, learn to know the people, build a network, and then return the next year, or even the year after that, with an artist that is ready for it. Then you increase the chance of success.
And you should also, or we should all, like, bear in mind, you know, when you came into the market route, you are, you know, in the Netherlands, there were only UK agents doing stuff. You were bringing bands from the US. You know, nobody was really traveling to Germany. Nobody was really traveling to...
We started it.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, Icelandic bands were not going anywhere. We were as isolated, we were more isolated than you. We had, like, you had an iron curtain around you, and we had the Atlantic Ocean, and, you know, nobody ever, like, nobody came, nobody went. So this is, we are in a different situation, a much better situation. You know, it's much, you know, I'm here, you know, we are here, you are here. So it's but on the other hand, it's a tough world. It is like, and one other, like, you know, when I because I see a lot of bands. I see them all over the world. I've been listening to music since I was like 5, and I was in bands myself. I was a manager, tour manager, whatever. And I visited, like, Eurosonic long before I came involved in Iceland Airwaves. I just did it, as Ruth was saying, for my purpose, to promote bands in Iceland, to get to know people in the industry in Europe, because that was developing. People, it was not only the English agents we needed to talk to, as it was in the early days. Now it's, you have agents in Sweden and Germany and France and Spain who are dealing with, you know, big acts, small acts, all the kind. So this is like the difference now, and is like we are so open and we are there. But bands, when I hear like a Romanian band that sounds like something from, you know, something washed, or from Iceland, bands that are trying to copy something, I can just feel it. And that is the danger of these things. And a lot of bands we get are just copying something and not just doing what they should be doing, like doing music as they feel it should be. This is the success you were talking about, the Siggi from Iceland Music Expo, talking about the Icelandic music that broke out of Iceland. They sold 10 albums in Iceland, like Sugar Cubes. Nobody paid attention to the Sugar Cubes. Björk, she was hated in Iceland. But then, or Sigurós, they were just elfish people. They were like, who they are not like, they're not even singing in Icelandic. That was like how the general public thought of that. The local heroes in Iceland were selling 30,000 albums in Iceland, 300,000 people living there. They didn't sell a single album in the rest of the world. So if you are unique, then I think you just, that's the thing.
That's the magic word.
There's the clue. Get hated in your own territory. Start working on it now.
Well, yeah, generate hate, generate no public listening to you, then you're something special.
I would just like to add, because shortly, because I had a conversation interesting with Chris Ekman from the Walkabouts, one of the early Seattle grunge bands from the 80s.
Not grunge.
Not grunge, Seattle bands, like part of the scene who brought up Nirvana, Soundgarden, Madhani, and so on. Yeah, and he's living in Ljubljana, so we got to meet and the chance to talk a lot. So he was saying, and we were discussing about this local hero thing with him, and he said Seattle was the same. Seattle, like in the 80s, Seattle, like the bands who were big rock bands, you know, like they were not known outside, and all this Green River, Madhani, Early Star, the Walkabouts, nobody cared. They were like a little community, nobody cared about them until they started to tour Europe, and the first tour, were you involved from the Nirvana festival? Yeah? I was booking Nirvana.
That's why he's got no hair left. So, but then again, my story is even worse. No.
I refused them. I didn't book them. Nirvana.
You booked them?
No, I refused them. You know, I worked as a booker for a club, and I said, no.
And we knew each other then as well. Yeah.
Is it true that they played in Berlin on the day that Berlin Wall went down?
Correct.
Yeah.
There's nothing like getting off the subject of these panels.
There were 30 people at the show. Yeah. Ted and Nirvana. It was a double bill tour.
Right, getting back to showcases. Who's aware of Eurosonic? Who's ever been? No, nobody in the audience has been to Eurosonic? Right, okay. Do you want to see a film? We've got a little film about Eurosonic, I think, haven't we? What up to that? What? You could try it. All right. I love coming to music events. The technology always sucks. Let's try it. Yeah, you try it. Can you actually see? You can see the one. Anyway, it's
experimental music.
That's what it's like. But well, getting onto Eurosonic, the things that develop from Eurosonic are quite startling. Is anybody aware of ETEP, the European Talent Exchange Program? Right, one person. Ruud, do you want to tell people what ETEP is? What's that?
Well, we have a lot of festivals at Eurosonic buying product, looking at the bands, see who they want to book for their festival that summer. And you know, there was in 2003 when Peter and I had a sort of a brain session, like how can we help the artist a little bit more, and the labels were sort of pulling out. And well, in our book it was, you know, if you're a Dutch band or a German band, it's best to play in another country at a festival because that's where the business is and the media is. It's a good place to start. So we set up a cooperation with nowadays 100 festivals, and these festivals come to Eurosonic, have a look at our lineup, book whoever they want, and we financially support that, and we visualize it and we promote it. And basically that means, like, if you're in the top 10 of most booked artists within the ETEP system, your chance of being picked up by an agent, a management, a publisher, a label, or whatever is quite high. It's sort of an index for success. Basically, all we do is we stimulate it, and something which was already happening, we made it bigger, we made it visible, and we promoted it.
Is anybody aware of CTEP? Yes, one person. So, well done. So, explain a bit about CTEP as well, because it's very relevant to this.
Well, some of you saw Frucina's keynote interview yesterday afternoon. Who saw it? She mentioned EEMUSIC Conference yesterday. That was about 11 years ago in Budapest, and there we started talking. And she also mentioned CTEP. Basically, CTEP followed out of Region as a sort of a program working with 14 festivals in 14 countries and their media partners, and exchanging artists from these countries to play in another country at that festival. Circulation, learn, play, make a network, get to know new people. Next time you know who to call if you need a show. And each year we flew in all the managers or the representatives of these 40 acts to Exit Festival, and we gave them a training for 2 days on the ins and the outs of the music industry on their own particular level. And then we did it for 5 years.
And how many acts played last year? How many acts?
At Eurosonic?
Eurosonic? Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea in total. I can tell you how many, about 360 acts in total played at Eurosonic and Overslag.
And who chose those acts? Because that would get back
You
to
mean like the
export
CTEP
officers
program or the
yeah.
360 acts?
The CTEP program.
Basically, those acts were selected by the 14 participating festivals. Because in most countries there, at that point, was not an event or an export office or some sort of organized industry. And one of the goals of CTEP was to stimulate a development towards an export office, towards events like MENT, towards events like the EEMC, this one. So I'm very happy that this event is taking place, because this is exactly what we were hoping for.
But you have focus countries as well, and you had focus on the Eastern Europe countries. Well, when was that? 2 years ago?
That was in 2016. And that was the conclusion, that was the master plan. We developed that region, that at a certain point, after 5 years of CTEP, we would end with a focus on 14 countries, which is, to be very honest, unprecedented. Nobody ever even tried or was crazy enough to try to do a focus on 14 countries at the same time. But we did it, we pulled it off, and we're never going to do it again.
I'm going to get back to Germany here. The way that these let's talk about conference events. Conference events have developed enormously over the years that you and I have been working on these things. I mean, I did 12 years at MEDEM promoting a showcase event there. That was a very long time ago. You were doing PopCom in the early days. I mean, now that you're working with Reeperbahn, what sort of how have things developed with those events, particularly on the showcase side? I mean, because I think in the original days, we were doing bands in the evening after the conference during the day, pretty much as entertainment, and occasionally somebody would actually get something out of it.
Remember the good old days with the champagne pyramids at the Corazette in Cannes? Oh, I miss them so much. No, but seriously, to my opinion, I think the business just grown, became bigger, more international, and there is more people working in this sector than in those days, far way back in the 80s and the 90s. There's more clubs, there's more venues. Maybe a few things are changing right now, at least in terms of the number of clubs. I see the number of venues is going down. That's my subjective observation. But however, the business itself just get bigger and bigger and bigger, which explains that there is more music industry events. Now we have got music industry events in almost every country, and that was very unusual. In the very early days, there was New Music Seminar in New York, but that was one-off. At South by Southwest was pretty limited.
Berlin Independence Days in Berlin before PopCom.
And out of a sudden, you have like Waves Vienna in Austria. You have M4 Music in Switzerland. You have Sonic Visions in Luxembourg, and so on and so forth. ILMC is there now for how many years? 25?
30 years.
30 years. And all these events still existing, except PopCom. MEDEM is also not the MEDEM it used to be.
The live events are booming.
So, I mean, what we used to always refer to the showcase events, so a lot of you can do one almost every week now. So the conference come showcase events have become much more of a fully acceptable A&R source. Would you agree?
Totally. I mean, it's replacing a lot of the shit out there, and that's where we get our input from, I guess. And also we have to wrap it up.
But there are actually dangers here. There's just one thing. This is also a business model, I'm not going to talk anything down because there are way too many music weeks happening, and some of them are happening in regions that are really underdeveloped, and they're spending a lot of money bringing somebody like me somewhere. But having said that, they can be important, but a lot of them should work more together and maybe focus on like one. Like, this is the place we're going to do it now. We're going to, work together. But too much politics, and you can also see it in Canada. They are like doing like 20 something or 30 music weeks or whatever they call it, and they are, even though they are like 40 million people, and not that many bands everywhere there to fill up these slots, and it's quantity over quality, and yeah, so.
But my recommendation to all of you, as it just has been mentioned before, go there, and keep being curious. I'm an old fart, now 30 years in this business, and I still love to go to this conference. I still always discover something I never have heard before. I learn something new, and unfortunately, it takes a lot of awful years before you have a certain experience. But however, just forget your experiences. Each year is completely different and completely new. So just go to these events. I think it's a good opportunity to meet people and perhaps also to gain some business out of it sooner or later.
It's great to welcome this event as well, a new event in this region. I'm sure it will help all of you a lot. I'm glad to be here, and I look forward to the next one. So thank you all very much. Thank you much to the panelists, and we'll see you around later. Thank you.